I don't know. I guess the thing that I'm thinking about two things, but the thing I'm most excited about is this month has been a bad month.
For you?
Yeah, been a bad month.
As
And it's been bad in the sense that good work is getting done.
hmm
When I look at my KPIs, I'm not all that upset with the KPIs. There are things I could have done better. There are things that different partners and team members and people I conduct business with could have done better overall.
hmm
But I mean, when you're an entrepreneur, you can always do better, right? You never fully patient with
Absolutely.
everything. But this financially has not been one of my best months. However, the thing I'm most excited about is that my floor in terms of having a bad month. One of the things I'm most excited about is my floor is higher than what my top would have been 2, 3 years ago.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where something I do to maintain sanity and to keep things in perspective, I ask myself on my worst days, my worst month, even if I were to have like a bad year, is the worst I could do still better than what I did years ago or 2 or 3 years ago? And the bottom line is, yeah, I mean, I had a
Right.
terrible month as far as I'm concerned financially in relation to the goals I'm taking aim at,
hmm
but I haven't had to hit the panic button because now my worst month is still better than what was previously my best days. So
Okay.
I was thinking about that when we were going back and forth about what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
um, but that's one of the things that I'm most excited about, right? Because I mean, the month isn't over with either, but
Yeah. Still got some days left.
I
Yeah.
was looking at the numbers. I was like, man, WTF? What is going on? Like,
Right.
this is feeling like FUBAR. Like, I really do feel like this is like bad. And
Mm.
I'm looking, but I'm still thinking to myself, man, it's all good, you know?
Right.
So that's something I'm excited about right now. And I know what's coming around the corner. So I know based on all the seeds are being planted, and I know the work that I've been doing, and I'm looking at the harvest is around the corner, and I'm good with it. So that's
hmm
one of the things I'm excited about.
Okay.
Um, the other thing I'm excited about, which is kind of like the topic I want to talk about today, is the fact that I finally feel like, I mean, I've been building assets all my life, but now I'm much more intentional about it. It's not just academic, like I want to build assets, I want to build assets, but I'm building assets. And, that's really the topic I want to chat about. For some reason, over the last 2, 3 weeks, this conversation repeatedly come up. I've been chatting with entrepreneurs and business owners about what their long-term goals are and how important it is to be profitable, how important it is to be financially solvent. But given everything that's transpiring in society and with our economy, you know I've been trying to beat the horn. It's like, look, you got to get out of this mindset where you're just looking to earn income. If you're not building assets, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the chasm between the have and have nots. Man, like it's always been there for those of us who are educated and have a mind to pay attention.
Yeah, for
Um, I remember seeing it clear as day 20 years ago. Even quite honestly, maybe even 30 years ago as a teenager. I remember being acutely aware that there was a thing called have and have nots, and I was not. Um, I had little to no belief in the quote unquote middle class. Like I could see what was going on, and then with the education and becoming more financially literate, and especially once I started my career as an investment advisor, I was like, dang, Like the middle class, that's some real BS.com they've sold us. There is none. But now, there used to be the illusion of it. There will be no illusion moving forward. There's not going to be an illusion.
You say you were aware of it in your teenage years. What about in your childhood?
In my childhood, see, I grew up. Okay, so a lot of my childhood, I lived in the 48228 zip code.
Okay.
And especially when I was there, when I was operating that space, the school I went to was in that space or wasn't that far from it. The neighborhoods that I traveled to, bike to, bus to, walk to, right, hitch rides to, were pretty much same conditions. You know what I mean? Like, I had no concept of have and have not. So the way I looked at it, everybody had not. And we were all, I'm just being real. I mean, neither one of my parents were crushing it financially, And when I would spend time with my grandparents, who ultimately probably, when I think about who I am today, contributed the most to it, they lived very frugally. They were Southern folk, you know what I mean? Like, buying red bottoms would never have occurred to my grandmother. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the way to get down. They could have been sitting on millions of dollars and still wouldn't spend crazy. That's just not who they were.
Yeah.
So every now and again, maybe if I saw something in the store and I wanted it, it became acute to me. I'm not acute. I became aware that maybe we weren't high on a hog or something like that. But like I said, everybody was struggling. You know what I mean? And I guess because of being raised a lot of my formative years by my grandparents as well, I was never one that got caught up on who had the most expensive gym shoes. I didn't have to have the latest chain. I didn't have to have the latest. I wanted some of those things as a kid, as you see it, but I wasn't caught up. You know what I mean? So yeah, during that period of time, I mean, everybody was grinding. There was no difference between the brother on the block, in the alternative marketplace doing what they did, between the person that was clocking into work legitimately. I mean, people weren't winning like that, particularly in that zip code where I came up. So I started working early. I don't even remember if it was illegal. I just know I started working before I went to high school. And I was putting in hours. So,
I did too.
Once I started working and counting my money, I was like, And then, in high school, I carried 2 jobs. In college, I always had 1 to 2 jobs. I mean, I was always grinding, doing something.
Yeah.
I think I became really aware. Well, attending U of M, immediate, right? You got kids driving luxury vehicles. They're taking $20,000 vacations. They are high. They are, it just became aware that I became quickly aware, okay, that there was people were living on a whole other level. You know what I mean? Like, and then one of the jobs I took while I was there, to put, paying myself through school, so to speak, I took a job at Arvan Furniture for a period of time out in Ann Arbor. And one of the first things that caught my attention is the people who looked like spam. The people who walked in with the, worn out gym shoes and, regular polo shirt and slacks and jeans. And, of course, a lot of people were older and a lot of them were Caucasian, right? White people. I would notice how they would come in and buy an entire bedroom set like it was nothing. They would come in and buy the living room, bedroom. I mean, they would just, it wasn't even any deliberating. You know what I mean? Like, I would watch them come in and spend the kind of money that was like people's salaries that I knew of. And I was like, wait a minute. wait a minute. You know what I mean? But also, right down the hall from me, there was a couple kids that were somehow involved in a syndicating the Seinfeld franchise. They were involved in that somehow. A couple of friends that I met while I was there lived out in Birmingham. I had never traveled to Birmingham before then, but I attended U of M. I met people, and then I got out to Birmingham. I was like, "Whoa, look at this!
Culture
This
shock.
is yeah." I was like,
Yeah.
"This is different." You know what I mean? Like, that's when it became apparent to me that there were just people who were living at a much higher level. And like I said before, when I did my first apprenticeship with an investment advisor that took me under his wing for a period of time, then it really became apparent. When I saw the type of monetary decisions were being made, I was like, wait a minute. This transaction is 10 times someone's yearly salary, 20 times. What is really? Then it opened my eyes. And I realized right away that, and then because I worked through middle school, high school through college, I was always doing the math, like how many hours I would need to work, how much more money would I need to earn to have a house, have a car, account for taxes, account for this, account for that, account for this. So I think at an early age, I became more acutely aware, unlike my peers, of how much it actually costs to live an adult life. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation with a young lady. And of course, me being a nerd, I messed that conversation up. We were supposed to be having a totally different conversation. And, we started talking about post-college, and I messed it all up. I started talking about my plans. I was like,
You
man,
were
it
too
costs this
serious.
much, this much. It costs, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do this. I need to do this. I need to do that. I got to account for this, that, and other, man. And I just remember at one point she just looked at me and I was like, man, I'm not getting none today.
You scared her off. You ran her off.
I was like,
Yeah, you ran her off. She was,
yeah,
God, this guy, he's back off the caffeine, boo.
yeah, man, because I was going in.
Oh, that's funny.
Any respect.
I think I became aware of the difference between the haves and the have-nots at a very early age. Like I would say like 7 or 8. Because I knew what rent was at that time. Like I would hear my family talking about it. And then I had an aunt. One of my aunts was married to somebody who was like 20 years older than her, and she had a very good job. And then her husband had a good job. He worked at the plant. And so, they had like a totally different type of lifestyle than like the lifestyle that, my mom had. My mom was a single mom and she worked her butt off. She worked several jobs. Um, and so like it was very obvious because, my aunt and her family would take like family vacations, and they had like a really nice house, and then eventually they moved to like a suburb. And so it was very apparent very early on that, there's people who have money and there's people who don't. And in this household, we don't have money. And like we
Mm-hmm.
never were like starving or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
My mom always kept food on the table, and I tip my hat to her because she did a lot of stuff that, like, behind the scenes when you're a kid, you don't know what your mom is doing to make
Mm-hmm.
ends meet and to make it happen every day. But I remember just being like, wow, like, comparing my aunt's lifestyle to our lifestyle. And
Mm-hmm.
it was very, very apparent to me that if you don't have money and you don't have a good job at that time, everybody's like, oh, everybody works at the plant is like, on a whole nother level. Especially like the Detroit inner city
Mm-hmm.
mentality, and then
Mm-hmm.
um another time that kind of stands out in my head is when like crack cocaine hit the neighborhood. Um like just seeing, you know, the just
Mm,
the whole
mm-hmm,
neighborhood be like a tsunami running through it, literally.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so yeah, it's always been very, very much like since a young age, the difference between, like you said, the haves and the have-nots, and just the socioeconomic differences and people's lifestyles. And as
mm-hmm,
I got older, and even like as I started like getting into high school and middle school and kind of like going outside of the neighborhood, because I went to a parochial school for middle school and for a couple years of my high school
mm-hmm,
career. And it was apparent. There were people at my high school, my grandparents helped my mom to pay for my tuition, but there were people who, their parents were buying them new cars, and they were going on vacations and they had everything. And, and then, you look at your situation, you're like, man, it's very, very obvious. And
yeah,
it shapes your mind. Like you said, early on how important it is to be successful and to have a plan, and not end up being a statistic, and things like that. So yeah, very, very early on, I can remember it clearly that
mm-hmm,
I noticed it. And even certain stuff I wanted to do, like when I was a kid, I liked gymnastics and I was good at it, but it cost a lot of money to
mm,
to have that type of if you're a child, your parents have to pay for this and that and coaching, and like my mom just didn't have it. So,
mm-hmm,
it was like very apparent, like, because I really wanted to do it, but she just didn't have the money for it, and so that's something that kind of stood out too, and I think like as a kid, you kind of feel like pissed off and resentful because you're like, okay, like why does all these other people get to have this, and this, and then you're like basically in this situation, and you're like, man. So it became very obvious early on how important it was to have money. Money was always a major issue.
mm-hmm.
It was very glaringly obvious from a very
Yeah,
young age. So yeah.
yeah. Like I remember there was and I got to be real careful about this because I don't think there's any statute of limitations with the bad behavior we were involved in frequently. But I remember in particular was a protest that I was a part of
Hmm.
where we were protesting the treatment of students of color at UNM. And it was like, I don't know, like 37, basically 40 days, a 40-day sit down where we're not bathing.
Oh,
Days went by, we weren't eating. We were,
what year was this?
this was, gosh, 19, no, it wasn't 19. Yeah, it was 1999, maybe 2000 when it happened. And we did
Okay.
this sit in.
Okay.
So we're raising hell. You know what I mean? Like it was a thing. It was all over the news. We were straight up giving U of M some black eyes like you wouldn't believe. It was crazy.
Okay.
And our argument was very transparent. It wasn't complicated at all. It's like we found evidence of systemic racism on the campus, and we found evidence of who actually had their hands on the levers, so we're pulling the levers,
Hmm.
right? And so, we had this whole thing where we wanted to certain structural changes to occur, and thank God those changes did occur. Some good did come out of it because a lot of people lost their academic standing. A lot of people lost where they lived at, fell out with their parents. That sit down was a mess. Um, man, there's so many stories I could tell from that. In any respect, there was another protest that was taking place at the same time. And they were protesting basically, I think it was a protest. And look, I'm good with it. I understood their cause. I appreciate it. They were protesting, I think, slave labor, right? As it relates to the production, I think of shoes and clothing and stuff like that.
In other
Wor-
countries, and like
worthy,
developing
worthy
countries.
cause, yeah.
Okay.
So I learned two lessons from that. Number one, when you're protesting things that hit close to home, it will light a fire underneath people. They'll get upset, they'll dig in, they'll be very intransigent, right? That was one of the lessons I learned as a activist early on, was that the reason why sometimes it's easier to get more things done when you're dealing with issues that are not in your backyard or front yard is because it doesn't inflame as much, right? So number one, the other group that was doing the protest, they weren't getting the type of visceral, violent, dangerous response that we were getting. Number one, but number two, university caved into them. I wouldn't say the university caved. The University of Michigan basically, and other entities they were in conflict with, basically satisfied their needs, responded to their protests far more swiftly. And as an activist, I was watching not necessarily that, but I was also paying attention to the dynamics behind the scenes because we were in conversations with each other. And it was just obvious to me, it was money. Those kids were able to be more effective as activists, despite the fact that I think what we were protesting was more acute and would make a bigger difference in a more pronounced way sooner, and would have a greater impact on the lives of the students and the culture of that campus. But the bottom line is we were a bunch of poor Black and brown kids.
Right.
That's what it was. A bunch of poor African-Americans, Latinos, some well-to-do East Indians, and, one, and Native Americans. And the other kids, the parents and mommies and daddies were earning $200, $500 million a year in income. And I imagine some of them had nice donations that they had given. It was obvious to me.
And connections, the right connections to maybe, students
then,
or, the upper echelons of the campus. Yeah.
So that really opened my eyes to power, where I really stopped paying attention to income. I stopped paying attention to money. I started paying attention to power. And that there's a difference between earning income and having power. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Like that was a clean exhibition of it. And then I started thinking about ecosystem, right? Which once again is not about money. I started paying attention to how ecosystems, the ability to shape and change an ecosystem makes a difference. So yeah, I mean, that period of time, difference between have and have not. So more importantly, I started understanding wealth and why it's important not simply to earn income and buy things, but how important it is to own things, how important it is to be the employers, how important it is to be able to fund things, and what happens when you don't have those resources at your disposal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And how different the outcome is when you have those resources versus when you don't.
Yeah.
Or at least you said just having access to the resources.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I've been thinking about that more and more as of late. As there's a shrinking demographic of people who can afford to buy homes.
There's a shrinking demographic of people who want to own homes too.
Well, I think they don't want to own them because they can't afford them. And if they can't afford them, I mean, it's the strain, right?
Yeah.
The bottom line is the cost of acquiring a home has, I forgot what the stat was, and I need to jump online and look at it again. But the bottom line is the cost, the increase, the inflation associated with buying a home as it relates to the increase in income. It's like there's a huge chasm between those two things, right? And I think people have finally realized it's not worth me being house poor. And then a lot of people just checked out. They said, forget it. I don't want a home because I know it's not a reality for me, right? But the thing that the reason why that's so important is that's not just happening when it comes to home ownership. That's transpiring across the board. Like those of us who are financially literate, I think we've always known you can't save your way. to financial independence. You can't save your way to solvency, right? You have to figure out ways to earn more. But now, even seeking out jobs to compensate more is not going to get it. Like, you have to participate in buying assets, whether it's real estate, investing in the stock market. You have to find things to invest in. Like, oh, it's going to get bad, man. I mean, I'm talking about spam, ramen noodles every day for a lot of people who think it's all good, and it's not going to be all good in 10, 15, 20 years. It's just not, right?
Even in 5 years, it's not going to be all good.
No,
You know, like
no.
even with like the thing, like you were saying with like earning more money, it's also too being able to leverage your money.
Yes.
Because that's super important. Like if you're, say you're sitting on some money and you want to, invest in some real estate, leverage your money, you have houses that you own, you can leverage equity in your house to do certain things. There's a lot of things that people, the haves, are doing, leveraging their assets, that is a foreign concept to people who just have never had that exposure.
Yeah.
And like you said, like the old school mentality, like when I was growing up and when you were growing up, was like, get a good job, save your money,
Mm-hmm.
work till you're almost dead, and then, try to enjoy whatever life you have left during your retirement. Those days are over.
Mm.
Those
Yeah.
people have phased themselves out. Most of the people that I know that are part of my circle are entrepreneurial. And the days of the 9 to 5 and getting a good job at the plant is like a pipe dream. That was from like the 70s. And it just no longer exists.
Yeah.
So it's like people nowadays know that not only do you have to leverage your money, but 10 times out of 10, you're going to need more than one stream of income just for yourself, not even talking about a spouse or a partner. If you want to thrive and just, get ahead, not just survival, we're talking about thriving and excelling and, leveling up. Those are
Mm-hmm.
things that are like absolutely required. There's no way around it.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing: the multiple streams of income is just to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what people don't understand. You got to have multiple streams of income just to survive. If you want to thrive, like, I'm becoming more acutely aware that success as an entrepreneur, even if you have a business that is generating a certain amount of income, is not going to be sufficient. Like, you have to take that money that you are generating as an entrepreneur, and you must invest that money. That money must be deployed. It has to go to work for you. I think for a long time, a lot of people just believe that investing was just a luxury. It's something that wealthy people do. You know
Like a
what I mean?
hobby. Yeah, like a hobby for
Not
wealth.
even not even a hobby. It's just that's what wealthy people invest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to work, maybe put a little money aside. You know, I don't know, but put money in a 401k, like the minimum, and it's still going to work out. And for me, what I'm trying to do is sound the alarm. Like, no, it's not going to work out at all. Like, you have to find things to invest in, whether you're buying businesses, once again, whether or not you're buying hard assets like real estate, whether you invest in the market, like, you don't have a choice. It's going to get bad. Like, the beautiful thing about this country for a long time is that we don't know, we've never experienced what other countries experience. Like, in other countries, you're either eating or you're literally not eating. Like, it's not figured, you're not going to eat. There's no safety nets in other countries like
Oh,
we've had here.
I
You know what I
agree.
mean?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
and there's a clear dichotomy between the have and have nots. And we're moving into a society now where your social status, um, the type of capital you have available to you, the things that really determine your financial solvency. Like, also here in the United States, it's like you didn't have access to certain investments, you didn't have access to certain spaces, and it was because of money alone, right? You just couldn't afford to be there. And so as a result, hey, it is what it is. Now there are like financial and structural impediments that are going to keep you out of certain investments, keep you out of certain spaces, keep you out of certain conversations, keep you out of certain neighborhoods, or certain like these things are becoming more hardened around us. And, I guess because I'm still ideating about these things, I haven't quite figured out how to articulate it in a cogent manner. But, that's what I've been thinking about. And, I have a talk that I'm going to give later on this evening with a group of investors who I think are kind of like tiptoeing into it. They want to ask me questions primarily about real estate, which I think is funny. So I'm still new to the game, but evidently I'm doing well enough. People are calling me and asking me about it.
Hey, yeah.
And
Great. That's
then,
a great compliment.
but they, I think they're also interested in investing in other asset classes as well. And as why I'm having this conversation with you is actually helping me understand some of the major themes that I want to tease out and share with them. It's like, you need to understand this is not a hobby. This is not a game. It's not a social. The way you're doing is very social. It makes it fun and makes it enjoyable, the camaraderie and all this. But you need to understand,
Right.
like, you
It's
must,
serious.
you got to do these things. Like,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to say it's scary,
I'm
but
actually attending a workshop tomorrow on investing. So it's something that you have to do. I mean, it's part of the life cycle, if you want to thrive and survive in society, it's something that you're definitely going to need long term. So yeah. I'm
yeah,
I'm excited about it because I'll be able to, interact in a circle where other people are thinking about it, talking about it, and probably have, a lot more experience in different areas that, I may not even be aware of. So I'm looking forward to just, rubbing elbows with those other people that are going to be there as well at the workshop. So,
I'm excited for you. That's what's up.
yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah, so I don't know. That's yeah, that's something about. That's what I'm thinking about all day today. As I'm
What
sitting
time is the what you're gonna be doing, the group that you're gonna be talking to?
6 p.m.
6 PM, okay.
Yeah,
Is it a
I
Zoom or is it live?
it's gonna be Zoom.
Oh,
It's gonna be
okay.
Zoom with people. I
Okay.
would have invited other people out, but like I said, it's a private investment group. They want to maintain their anonymity.
Of course.
They don't want people to know
Okay,
what
well,
it is, so I gotta keep it close to the vest. But
of
I'm
course.
hoping I can have a conversation for the next couple hours and be like, look, just you don't have to divulge what's going on with you personally. You don't have to divulge what
Mhm.
is like, don't put any sensitive identifying information out there in the Zoom universe, right?
Right.
Because I do want to use some of the content later on to kind of educate, promote, and showcase expertise. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
we'll see what transpires. I'm happy to do it because number one, I just enjoy having these conversations, doing these things. But also, I think it's going to be great preparation for many of the other workshops, are what we're doing here,
Mhm.
right? Um, it's just a serious conversation needs to be had, and it's like I firmly believe I can't stand when people do these doomsday type of reports because 99.9% of it is not doomsday. It's just hyperbole. Is the Earth's not coming, the world's not going to end. But so I really try to avoid saying things like that because I know also the market's going. You ask me all the time, what's the market going to do? You ask me all the time, what should I invest in? And I tell people all the time, look, the market's going to do what it did forever. It's going to go up and it's going to go down. You know,
Right.
people ask me, what should I invest in? And my response is typically three things: invest in what you know, invest in what you know, and pay attention to trends. I think people's lives are going to go off the rails. I think there's going to be a huge number of people who are crashing out um, because as AI begins to um, is being engaged and employed more and more in the economy. Jobs that were once there aren't going to be there. Jobs that are currently here are going to be gone too. They're going to be removed. And we know when you ask most people, what do you do for a living? They lead with typically the work that they do, because that's how Americans, how people in the U.S., at least in the United States, our identity's tied up in our work. And there's going to be some, crashing out is going to be a regular occurrence. And so anyone who invests in those type of businesses that address those particular needs, they're going to do very well. I believe people who, we're going to live longer. That doesn't mean we're going to live better.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to live longer, but we ain't going to live better. And, the prospect of living to 90 and 100 years of age sounds good, but it doesn't sound good if you're in pain 24/7. Doesn't sound good if you have multiple surgery on those knees and those chests, and your scar tissue across your chest.
Yeah, if you have a good quality of life, period, and your health, your wealth, if you don't have that, then who would want to be in that situation? Yeah, no.
Investing in those type of industries is going to be huge. Investing in most of us, I currently not right now. I don't have the capacity to invest in the technologies that are building AI, at least not directly. But that does not mean you cannot invest in or start up businesses that support the infrastructure, right? Those things are going to be really important, right? I think about that, like the type of businesses people should start up or invest in, right? The skilled trade is going to be what the skilled trades are. I think eventually AI is going to make certain intrusions into that space too. But at the end of the day, most people will still be able to find gainful employment for a period of time in those industries, right? That's going to be important. Man, if I could remember the words I used to remember when I knew how to speak Spanish more fluently. It's just
piece it together.
People, no, because I piece it together, it's gonna be like bad news. I still remember the bad words. I don't remember
the good.
I decided to say those words about in a more professional way. Okay. I can still curse at you real good in Spanish every now and again, but I can't. But I don't know how to say dumbass in Spanish. You know what I mean?
Pendejo.
Yeah, or just ignorant buffoons. Anyway, so like I was saying, I got off track. But anyway, people have to get serious about. Oh, what I was saying is this. I firmly believe that if you don't get your act together over the next 10 years, we're going to have in the United States what we've had in other places. And there's going to be a permanent underclass for real. Like, don't matter how talented you are, doesn't matter how much intelligence you have. Even to an extent, you could have the greatest value prop. It's just going to be increasingly more difficult to get out of the quote unquote financial underclass. I really do believe that.
I agree. I think we're seeing it now. Especially in places where, there's like an inner city. It's very apparent, especially with some of the things that have been happening with our government. A lot of people who have been very upset about certain things that are occurring, and it's apparent to me because I work with so many different kinds of people, how many people depend on assistance
from
government, and how many people are really feeling closed in and cornered because certain resources are, there's talk of it not being available or being cut off and things like that. So it's definitely causing a lot of disruption to people, and people are unsettled and they're nervous and worried about,
Hmm.
how they're going to make it, what the future may hold. It's very apparent, to me, especially because, like I said, I deal with all different kinds of people. I work with people with challenges. We work with buyers, sellers, renters, all that. So it's I'm having those conversations with prospects and clients about just what you and I are talking about. So it's definitely it's there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this conversation is interesting. It's like, because I have not worked a job on a consistent basis or had jobs for so many years in between, or I mean, I think something that entrepreneurs need to understand, and this is kind of correlate to what I learned while I was at U of M. I was on campus, right? Um, oh man, it makes the issue so much more acute. It's like the thing that really dawned on me the most is that particularly well off people who are really well off, and not just Caucasians or white people, but just period.
Hmm.
But definitely, it's like I remember when I concluded this. It's like, you know, Jacob and Jilly and Billy Bob and whatever names you think of. You know where I'm going with this. Justin. They're not waking up thinking I hate black and brown people. It's not what they wake up thinking about. Like obviously there are people out there who are like that, who are on that time. But for the most part, they're just not thinking about us at all.
Hmm.
That's what it is. They are just indifferent. It's not that they're trying to hold anyone down. They're just indifferent about the plight and difficulties of people who don't have.
Right.
And but you find that across ethnicities, right? And even I'm careful about it. And I'm by no means wealthy. I got a little small modicum of, right? I'm better off than the average Joe. Great.
Hmm.
But even I have to sometimes remember that there are certain things that people are experiencing that I'm so far removed from.
Yeah,
So far.
you have to humble yourself,
Yeah.
especially like I think like the people you're talking about, Jillian and Amy and whoever else, like, okay, yeah, because they don't really have firsthand experience dealing with it. And
Yeah.
if you've not been touched by it, or you're not dealing with it or familiar with it from your own personal experiences, it is foreign to you. It's like, oh wow, like I never knew people lived like that, or I never knew that that was even a thing. And it's not out of like being haughty or, being mean. It's just you're not familiar, so it's foreign to you.
Yeah.
Just like I was talking about working with renters. A lot of people in this space don't work with renters, and oh, you work with renters? Ugh, like, they don't
Yeah.
want to do it.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like a whole nother stream of income.
You
Um,
know, the other thing you have to be cautious about, and once again, I'm going to speak for myself, because you think that once you've overcome hurdles, once you've overcome challenges, once you overcome the BS.com,
mhm.
I can tell you what my experience has been. The more acute the challenges are, the easier it is to become impatient with people who are still dealing with them.
I
Because
agree.
because the attitude is, I came through all this shit. Like I've overcome all this stuff. If I can do it, you can too. What's the problem?
Oh,
Like
yes.
you start to lose. I'll be honest, there are times where I'm not as empathetic as I should be, because after going through all the pain and hardship during my youth and formative years, all the pains and hardship and triculating, just having stuff happen. I got my battle scars. I can take off my shirt and people can see my battle scars, like the physical ones.
Some
Bunch of
scars are invisible, but they're there.
no, no. I got them physically on my body. You can see
Mhm.
the fights I've been in. You can see the type of conflicts I've been in on my body.
Right.
Right. So, so I tell people, if you can see those scars on my shoulder, on my back, on my torso, know the ones you can't see are 5, 10, 20 times more acute. Right. And when you've had that type of experience and lifestyle and come through those things, like I said before, you can lose empathy. You can lose empathy. So I'd be looking at, people say I'm hard on, actually, no, people don't say that. Only my haters do, or stupid people. But, probably 3 or 4 times at different times in my career, people have always said, JuJuan, you're really hard on women. And I was like, you should hear what I say to men. Like,
I've never gotten that impression from you. That's so bizarre.
well, because
I've never heard you say anything that I would feel was negative, biased, misogynistic towards women. I've never, I don't know where that comment came from. Maybe somebody was like in their feelings, but I've never,
that's where it comes from.
yeah, I've
And
never heard you say, and trust me, I've been in conversations and been in rooms where
yeah,
that was the theme. And when that is the theme, oh baby, you know it. And
yeah,
you can cut the tension in the air with a knife. You can feel it. And I've
yeah,
never, like, anytime you and I have interacted, even group settings, whatever, I've never gotten that impression. So that's kind of
you
different for me to hear.
you won't. It's just what you've noticed is in business settings in particular, I'm the same,
Oh,
regardless of who you
absolutely.
are and what you are.
Absolutely.
But what I found is that because I am the same and it's like, there's been rare occasions, and usually, like I said, it's because someone's in their feelings and they're haters. That's really what it is, right?
Hmm.
But I've had that, and my response to them is, you should see some of the conversations I have with men, right? Because as you already know from our interactions, I'm real quick
Oh, absolutely.
bro,
Yeah.
like for real.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
absolutely not.
I ain't about to play around with you,
Yeah,
man.
and we'll
You
laugh
know,
about it later.
yeah, yeah.
We'll
We
get
ain't.
cackling about it later because it's funny, but it's some conversations need to be had. And what I'll
Yeah.
say too is, like I was telling you about one of my coworkers, a broker who gets that same kind of energy from women sometimes, where, like, because he's saying it, they're feeling automatically like on the defensive that this person is saying it. And I
Well,
think sometimes it has to do with their own personal traumas that they're dealing with, that they're projecting on to you. Because you and I have talked about, like, the way that different people interact differently, certain
particularly with their men.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
1000%. I've seen it a million times, and have
Yeah.
had many conversations with other coworkers, friends, people who
Mhm.
experience like backlash, like maybe they said something to somebody in a professional setting and it was taken out of context, and they'll be like, "Wow, talking with me about it, and it's really a thing that happens." And it's happened
Oh,
to you, I'm sure. Yeah.
it happens all the time. I mean, something that I'm acutely aware of when I am operating in spaces is that a lot of these men and a lot of these women have been raised in households. They've been raised in matriarchal households
Absolutely.
where leadership is matriarchal. How to
Hmm.
respond to things is matriarchal. How to spend money is matriarchal. Everything about it is matriarchal. So the
Yes.
irony is they'll yell and scream that they want men's involvement, men's participation. They want men to step up and be men. But sometimes when you show up that way, you actually, there's a price to pay.
Hmm.
So I'm very much acutely aware of that, right? I know that, as you've been around me long enough to know, like, I'm not much different here on the podcast than I am in person, but my energy is a little bit different in person, right? I am more assertive. Um, I can be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you've seen it. Like, people have been intimidated by me for no reason.
You're always tactful and
Yeah,
diplomatic. You've never
yeah.
been um rude, disrespectful. I've never witnessed it. I mean, I'm sure
No.
you have it in you just like we all do.
Yeah.
It's there.
I
Absolutely.
mean,
Yeah.
I tell people, look, you can get it.
Right.
If when I'm being my worst self, which thank God,
Yeah.
I don't give in to that energy.
Right.
But
Try
the
to keep
bottom
it under
line
wraps.
is,
Try to keep
yeah,
it under wraps. Yeah.
yeah. But it is an interesting space to navigate, right?
Yeah.
Especially, you know, within ebony colored communities, right? 'Cause like I
Yeah.
said before, they want masculine leadership, but they don't want it.
Well, I think they're not used to it. It
Yeah.
depends on the type of household that you grew up in. If you didn't have those interactions with male family members, even if you grew up in a house without a father, if you had like uncles, brothers, grandfathers, those people
Mhm.
that you interact with, depending on, like how prevalent they were, how present they were in your life and your day to day, I think that has a lot to do with how you deal with other people as well. Like if you're not used to dealing with those kind of people, then it's going to be more challenging for you. Like you said, if someone's showing up and they are masculine and they are a take charge kind of person, like if you didn't grow up and you're not used to conversating and interacting with men on that level, then it may be more of a challenge for you, or you may feel um like put off or turned off, or like, oh, I don't want this person telling me what to do, or just
Yeah.
listening because the message is coming from this person and you're not used to communicating with these kind of people. But then that's when you have to check yourself and do some self inventory and say, what is it about this person and the message that they're sharing that's making me non receptive, you know? And that's important. And a lot of
Yeah.
people don't want to do that. A lot of people don't want to hold themselves accountable and say, okay, this person's coming from a place of contribution. What is it about the way that this person is sharing these things with me that's making me not receptive to it?
And that's the key piece when people are coming from a place of contribution. Like I remember this was like all the rage. People were arguing about it left and right on social media. Um, where they were saying that a lot of people know the path, they have the information, they have the insight, they have the wherewithal, but they don't want to share it. Right.
Absolutely.
And people were getting, a lot of people had a lot of criticism for people who were in positions of influence and power. I'm actually looking for an interview I just listened to. Here it is. Derek Lewis, the ex-president of PepsiCo. And he was talking about this in his interview recently that I watched, where it's like the reason why a lot of people who have achieved and succeeded and leveled up don't want to oftentimes publicly come out and talk about the game or talk about the things that they do is because it's crazy. And even I'm beginning to experience it now. I'm like, I'm not even there yet. But even I'm beginning to experience it yet. It's like you will get more vitriol in return for telling people what's really going on, for being honest about the game, how do you win in business and financially, than if you just kept quiet.
I
And
agree
and
1,000%.
yeah, it's like the clowns, you know, the dumb apples out here will get all kinds of they win the popularity contest. Let's put it that way,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And it's terrible to say. I mean, as you already know, I don't mind. I still do it anyway. But I will willingly admit there are times where I'm in spaces and I'm listening and taking inventory, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just fall back.
All the
Let me
time.
let me
Yep.
just fall back.
Yeah.
Let's just
I'm not even going to say a word. I'm just
yeah,
going to, sit here and I'm going to listen and observe and take notes, probably on
yep,
my phone, because that's what I like to do. I love taking notes on my phone. And, just be a fly on the wall. I'm not even going to comment. And even if someone asks me for my opinion, I'm going to think about what I'm going to say before I'm going to say it. And it's probably going to be a very, um, guarded comment or response,
yeah,
especially in that type of a setting, because you're right, there are a lot of um people who are just turned off when you,
mhm,
like you said, give the game, because they're looking at it not as you giving, like you're coming from a place of contribution, but they're looking at it in a negative light. They're looking at it like you are saying it in a certain way that maybe it's not resonating with them, or they have like preconceived notions about what somebody who's talking like you or who looks like you or who is your gender thinks or feels. It's, it's a lot of baggage that other people carry, that they may project onto you, just because of your gender, or, things that you have no control over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's interesting.
it is. It's very interesting.
You know what? You know what's
Is
funny
hearing
when I
people talk about you when they don't know you're listening. That's always
oh
very,
yeah, that's very entertaining.
it's extremely entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very entertaining, the things that people say about you when they don't know that you're listening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All the time. That's something.
It's extremely entertaining.
Yeah. And for me, it's kind of funny. Whenever I hear myself say that, I know I've reached a point where it's like I don't give a F.
Of course.
Like once I start becoming entertained by the BS.com, it's like I've now reached the point where I don't give a F.
Mhm.
I'm just about to put my head down and keep it moving. You know what I mean?
Well,
It's
what's really entertaining is when you could, like, if you can listen to it with someone who you're on the same page with, and you guys would just sit up and laugh about it, like, oh wow, like tell me how you really feel. Like, okay, I
Mhm.
mean, do I need to get a bodyguard? I mean, what is really going on over here?
Man, man,
Yeah.
stories to
So,
tell.
oh,
Oh my
absolutely,
goodness.
absolutely. But
Wow.
it's par for the course. As one of my mentors always says, Adrienne, this is the business we've chosen to be involved in, and it is what it is. So you just gotta, take it on the chin and keep pushing. So
We chose entrepreneurship.
yeah, let your success talk for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And yeah, just what do they call it? Signal versus noise.
Mm-hmm.
Just just be 100% focused on the signal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. So I gotta, who is this? I gotta meet with two people back to back here.
Oh, that sounds fun.
And I gotta get out to space. I can't be in here anymore. I gotta see people.
Where are you?
So there's this co-working space that I've been investigating.
Okay.
Um, not so much to displace some of the spaces I patronize and use, but as an alternative, right? And I'm being imperialistic, just to be honest. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how many markets and how many spaces geographically we can dominate.
Right.
So there's a workspace out in the um, Oak Oak Park, or not Oak Park, Royal Oak, Hazel Park, Ferndale,
Mm-hmm.
that whole area. So I would love to be able to train somebody up. I would love to be able to mentor somebody up to occupy this space, just because it's wide open. Whenever I talk to business owners in this area, in this zip code, no one seems to know who we are and what we do, which I'm like, okay, that tells me green lights, go in here and go crazy. Also, it's attractive. It's attractive. Looks nice. The parking is a lot easier than being coming downtown, and there's a lot of things to like about what they have going on down here, or up here. So I'm thinking critically about how I triangulate or help us triangulate, right? I already told you before, if I go any further, that there are like 4 or 5 markets that I want our organization to dominate.
Right.
And I'm looking for ways to get a footing in it. So
Okay.
we'll talk more about it. As you can tell, I'm being a little bit guarded. There's only so much I
Yeah,
want to
of
share right
course.
now.
That's cool. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
you're keeping the cards close to the vest. That's cool.
So, yeah. And